Welcome to Lynnwood Election Watch 2013. I am Teresa Whipple. I'm your host. I'm the publisher of Lynnwood Today. And we are here with Loren Simmonds, who is a candidate for mayor of Lynnwood. And welcome tonight. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. I'd like to start by having you talk a little bit about your background. I know that you have a long history in Lynnwood city government and a lot of experience, and just chat a little bit about what you've been doing and why you want to be mayor.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I guess I should say that I have been a permanent resident for Lynnwood for 31 years. Moved here in between 1980 and 1981. It was my base of operation for my own firm. I worked as a consultant for nonprofit organizations and traveled a great deal, working with both my own clients, and then I did subcontract work. Did that for about 28 years. Raised my family here in large measure. I have two grown children now, both of whom attended the public schools. Both of them graduated from Meadowville High School. And now I can say that I am the proud Papa Loren for 5 grandchildren, ranging from age of 2 to 15.
Wonderful.
So, my interest in politics probably, I've sort of grown up with it, I think. It must be in my DNA, but though I got that gene from somewhere else because nobody in my family really did. I guess it started back when I was going to school. I took a double major in psychology, political science. Deviated that for a little bit and got over into the studies of philosophy and theology. But when everything was said and done, and I would read the newspapers and watch on television, I always kind of gravitated back to the political scene. And somewhere, I can't tell you exactly at what point in time, it was kind of like a light bulb went on in my head, and I suddenly realized that if I was going to be a responsible citizen, I needed to do more than just vote. Now, I'm not minimizing voting. I'm just saying that for me, it became very evident that I needed to become more actively involved. And I think the second part of that little light bulb experience was when I realized that politics at the local level, what I'm going to call the municipal level, in my opinion, was really where the action was. And I say that because I am a people-oriented person, and in a smaller community, you have the opportunity to interface with your constituents. You go get your cleaning at their place, you eat in their restaurants, you buy gas at their gas stations. It's right there. You buy groceries in the grocery store, and they'll say, hey, they'll want to stop and talk about certain issues. And I found that fulfilling. I found it exciting and whatever. So I made the decision to weigh in for the first time around in 1997. Actually, the fellow that I challenged later became a mayor for a term in the city of Lynnwood, and I lost. And I can tell you that I've won elections and I've lost elections, and I know which ones I prefer, trust me. But it did kind of take me back to a point in time of reflection and saying, okay, what did I learn in and through this whole process? And one of the things that I guess I just sort of realized was, losing the election was not terminal. There will be subsequent elections that come up. If you still have the interest, then you still need to pursue that dream. So I ran again in 1999. And it was kind of an interesting scenario because I was in a primary that year of 5 candidates. I won the primary, subsequently won the general election, so I was elected to office and took office in January 1, 2000. Since then, I have been very fortunate, and the people of Lynnwood have been very gracious to me and allowed me to serve them. And I've been elected 4 consecutive terms, and I'm currently in my 14th year, midway through the 4th term. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Some days more than others, as the case may be, and depending on what some of the issues are, because, you know, governing these days is not easy. It's becoming increasingly, I think, complicated. I think that there's a lot of pent-up frustration and anger on the part of a lot of people, and maybe they don't know what to do with it. But one thing they do know is they have access to the council and the mayor on Monday night, 2 times a week, if they want to come down and express themselves. And I think that's healthy. I think it's good, and they should continue to do that.
And you've been council president a few times.
Yes, I have. In fact, I was elected 4 years in a row from, well, 2004, 5, 6, 7, and 8, I guess. Took a little leave of absence there for a couple of years, and then was re-elected council president in 2012, and then again this year. I'm currently council president. Yeah. And that is, that's sort of been an enjoyable experience as well, because currently we have a number of new council members. They're in their first term, and while they look at me in some measure as being the old man, the real issue there is I think I have a little opportunity to maybe mentor them and to work with them and hopefully share some of the insights that I've learned the hard way.
And you know, something that I saw in some of the research I was doing, you had said, were quoted as saying that one of your focuses was on, quote, healing and building, if you would be elected mayor. And, you know, not to get into all the fine details of some of the things that have gone on in the city, at the city council level and with the mayor in the last few years, but what kinds of things do you think you can bring to the mayor's office that would help with that, the healing and building that you're hoping to do?
Okay, that's an excellent question. I think the first thing that I would articulate as to what I would bring to the table is what I'm going to call a little different attitude or approach to the office. One of the things I've learned about leadership, I think, over the years is that before you can be a leader in the narrow sense of the term, or stepping out and trying to provide direction, there are 2 other things that really precede that. And the first one is being an active listener. People want to know how much you care more than they want to know how much you know. And once they have that confidence and that you're listening to them and that maybe you're empathizing with them and whatever, then I think that you've taken a major step in the direction of that. The other thing is learning. And I'm going to say that, I'm going to add the phrase to that, learning humbly. There is a proverb which I find fascinating that talks about the fact that in multiple counselors there's good wisdom. And I sometimes am afraid that once you are elected to an office, that the temptation there is to fall into the trap of thinking that, well, I got elected, therefore I must have all of the solutions to the problems facing us, and that's a bottomless pit. You don't want to go there because that will not serve you well. So I guess what I'm saying is one of the key things that I believe I would bring is the fact that I do try to practice what I believe, and that is to listen actively, to learn humbly, and then have the courage to lead boldly if it requires that. Now there's some other things that come into play here that I think are, again, a part of the leadership model. One of them in particular is the fact that if you're going to work with people and you're going to expect or hope to get the best out of what they can bring to the table, whatever their function is, they need to be in an environment in which they're encouraged, they're empowered. This is how I'm not saying that there's not oversight, but to realize that failure normally is not terminal. If we make mistakes, okay, let's learn by those mistakes. And I think that is really critical, particularly within City Hall, that you be able to do those things. And if necessary, you may even take the additional step of equipping them better to fulfill their function. So those are some of the things that I think I can bring to the table. Now, having said all that, I want to go back to a premise that I really believe is absolutely necessary that the leader realizes, and that is that an organization is a reflection of its leadership. You have good leadership, you'll normally have a good organization. You have mediocre, you just progress down there. And what I see that really meaning, as I try to internalize it, is that I need to role model in my own responsibilities, in my own life, that which I'm hoping for and expecting from those that I'm working with. And it's not always easy. And I would be the first to admit that, when I least expect it sometimes, maybe I feel like that I've stumped my toe, or I'll second guess myself as to maybe I would have been served better to do something else. But I really do believe that being sort of a role model by mentoring and displaying for those not only out in the community, but particularly those that you're rubbing elbows with every day. Those things I believe that I would bring. And then I add to that, hopefully, the lessons that I've learned, because, I've had, 28 years of private sector experience of working with people, and I worked with nonprofit organizations. I know all about working with volunteers and recruiting, board members, training board members, that sort of thing. I've got 14 years of kind of slugging it out on the council, so to speak. Had the additional 6 years that you've alluded to there with the comments about my being the president or mayor pro tem. In between there, I've tried to continue my education and be a learner. In that sense, I did press through several years ago. And actually, I'm quite proud of it because it was not easy. It took quite a bit of time and travel to do it, but I did receive an advanced leadership certification from the Association of Washington Cities. So I feel in many respects, from personal temperament, training, experience, and whatever, that I have a good skill set that I can bring that the city could benefit from.
Okay, and a lot of the theme seems to be, the need to role model, the need to be a leader. And are you in a sense, by emphasizing that, saying that maybe that isn't happening right now with the current administration?
It has been very sporadic. Generalizations are dangerous, and I don't want to, dwell on that. But I guess I would just simply say to you, I've lived it. I've tried to work through it, etc. But when everything was said and done, and this, when everything is said and done, I think there's a better way, and that's why I'm offering myself and asking for the opportunity.
Okay.
And that says nothing about the knowledge base of anyone else that might be running. So.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, let's get down to some issues that are facing the city, and I guess along those lines, if you were elected mayor, would there be one area in particular that you would focus on that you think is the most important, most critical to do as the new mayor of Lynnwood?
I wish it were that simple.
Well, and we're going to get into some specific issues,
Okay.
but I just wonder if there was one thing that just kind of jumped out at you as saying, if I were in charge,
Yeah,
this is what
right.
what I would do on day 1 or day
Okay.
5 or whatever.
Well, let me back up and sort of step over a half a track and kind of pick up on some of the things that I've already said to you. Quite frankly, I am personally deeply concerned about the level of citizen participation in government, particularly municipal government. I've never heard anybody say this, but the lack of what I'm going to call involvement, in large measure, seems to imply that the only important things that take place in government are higher up the ladder at the county or the state or the federal level, and I don't believe that for a minute. Secondly, having said that, I'm a very strong advocate of citizen participation. I participate in a program that I help initiate called Lynnwood University. And one of the closing things that I frequently talk about is at the Constitutional Convention, when the group was filing out of the building, a lady hollered out at Dr. Franklin and said, "Sir, what kind of government have you given us?" And his response was, "A republic if you can keep it." And I have thought about that a lot. And the conclusion that I have come to was that in his wisdom, or their collective wisdom, there were two things that they recognized. One is you need to be informed, and secondly, you need to be involved. And it's not either or. I mean, you can be involved but be uninformed and be dangerous, okay? Or on the other hand, you can be informed and have all of the answers, but if you sit on the couch or on the sidelines and you're not willing to take the risk and get involved, that will not, that really serves no purpose either. So when I think about that, and I think about my community that I'm in, I'm really a strong advocate of wanting people to become participants. And again, I'll say moving beyond just voting, though that's, that is critically important. Two things that I think would flow out of that. Number one, I believe and would advocate for and would try to garner the support with the council and the community at large to establish what I'm going to call neighborhood councils. I really believe that our people need, they need to come together. They need to start becoming acquainted with one another. They need to look at the area where they're living and start articulating what do we like, what do we don't like, how can we improve this and what. And by doing so, I think that will result in greater unity within the community. But I also think that what we're really ultimately going to establish here is a network of individuals collectively who can serve as what I'm referring to as resident consultants to the mayor's office and to the mayor's and the council, because they know more likely what's happening than that. One of the prime examples that I think of this day is a self-appointed group several years ago that came to the city and said enough is enough. And they told us what they wanted done and how they thought we should go about it and whatever. And today, as a result of that, 176th Street from Olympic View Drive all the way over to 99 is a nice street it's virtually a very wide boulevard street for all practical purposes, at least as far as Lynnwood is concerned, with nice sidewalks down each side. And that in my mind is always pops up when I'm thinking about people getting involved in it. The second thing that I would say is that there has been in the past, and I don't know if I'm telling my age here or not, but there's been in the past an entity that is not all that uncommon. It's called a community roundtable. And I strongly believe that the mayor's office should be a catalyst for bringing together the leadership of the community, the resources, the ideas, and using them on an ongoing basis as a brain trust to take on some of the big issues that are citywide. And when you stop and think about you know, the business community, the educational community, the medical community, the nonprofit and service organizations. You go right down the list. We have a wonderful resource of people that are sitting at our fingertips that dare I say, are hardly ever approached as to what they might think about this. And that's to the detriment of the city. It just simply is. It's, you know, it's a wasted resource. So those are two things that I would say that I probably, if I was on my soapbox, so to speak, and I've probably been on my soapbox over the last minute or two, feel very strongly about. Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting that you would mention those things, because one of the questions that has been asked of some of the other people that have been interviewed has been the fact that really Lynnwood's demographics have been changing over the years in terms of the most recent census shows that there's more older people, certainly more diversity in the communities, people who don't speak English. You know, the income level in Lynnwood is about $18,000 a year less than you know, the neighbors. How do you, when you talk about citizen involvement, even in the best of times, or you know, the best of circumstances in terms of people who maybe have all the resources they need, it's not always easy. How do you reach populations like that effectively? Which gets to some of the community engagement questions, and how does the government reach out to those folks?
Well, again, that is an excellent question, and I will tell you, I'm going to sort of patch this together as best I can quickly. Number one, one of the reasons that today the Lynnwood University exists grew out of the fact that, quite frankly, and that started back 10 years ago, but quite frankly, the community was growing rapidly, and I think today it's what, 39 point something ethnic minorities. Secondly, generalizations are dangerous, but I'm going to venture out here and say, for all practical purposes, it seems like civics is not being taught in the classroom anymore, and part of that's what triggered me to initiate and to help sponsor and get that, because I was hoping, I mean, that was part of my motivation, was to see if we could reach out to people and could put a human face, if I may put it like that, on government, let them actually meet people that were department heads, people that, you know, worked behind the counter and that sort of thing, and to do so in a non-threatening environment. Now, I'm pleased for the results that we've got, and as a result of that, today we, you know, the sequel to that is we have a number of people that are volunteering regularly on different boards and commissions that came through that process. That's good. But I'm keenly aware too that when you look at the, you know, the aggregate number of people that I feel like that we are not assimilating, and I don't know if that's a good word or not, but that we're not assimilating into what I'm going to call the mainstream of life in Lynnwood, that does bother me. And part of my motivation for doing this, the council, the neighborhood council thing, is to take an additional step to see if we can't start seeing our neighbors regardless of where they are in that regard.
Yeah, that's, boy, that makes a lot of sense to me. It really does. Well, let's get on to a couple of other just issues. I know we're getting close to the end of time. We're not there yet, but your opinion of, you know, kind of the link light rail coming into Lynnwood and some of the concerns that, you know, the council and citizens have about that. How are you going to best kind of navigate those waters with the, you know, the operations and maintenance satellite facility that they want to build, and just kind of making sure that residents are beneficiaries of that whole process? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a very timely subject, and you are probably aware that on this Saturday, the 22nd, at the Cedar Grange, the Cedar Grange Hall, which is located in a neighborhood that could be significantly impacted by the rail, and that the people will be allowed to weigh in and express themselves. We're also doing a second community forum on the 25th, the following Tuesday, at the Meadowdale High School for the same purpose. The people from Sound Transit will come and tell their story. We'll have staff people that have been working with them. They'll tell, and then we're going to allow people to weigh in and share whatever their thoughts are.
Now, this will actually air after those meetings. Will there be opportunities beyond that for people to weigh in if they want to? Maybe on through the city's website?
That's my hope. I'm not sitting here at this precise moment knowing what all of the details are, other than to say to you that Sound Transit is actually, within the last 2 weeks of July, are going to come back to Lynnwood proper and hold their own, I guess, community forum, if you will, and tell the story the way they want it told. First of all, we are living with the reality that the voters did, in fact, approve, and I guess in a sense put their blessing on Sound Transit. And ostensibly, by the year 2023, it's supposed to roll into Lynnwood. Probably should have gone further than that, but that's where it kind of ends on the north end. And I have no doubts that it will be used extensively. We have a community transit facility there where the buses come and the cars park, and it is still filled and overflowing, and people are parking 2 and 3 blocks away on the street. So there probably is, without question, need for it. I think the critical component of all of this is where the tracks are actually laid, and that's one of the discussions on Saturday. There are 2 or 3 different versions that they're considering, and I can say I have a definite opinion about 2 or 3 of those, though I don't have a map here to show you about that. I would say that from the perspective, and I can't speak for the council, my general impression is that the council is not excited, nor probably would they rally to the support of Sound Transit to bring the big yard in, because it would literally take out and probably devalue property of 250 homes over in that neighborhood. The good thing that I think, if my understanding is correct, is that the land that they initially targeted of where they wanted to do that actually belongs to the Edmonds School District 15.
Yes.
That's where they have envisioned putting their new administrative headquarters and their bus barns and some of those things. And even though Sound Transit has the opportunity to exercise eminent domain, they cannot exercise it against somebody else that has the power of eminent domain. So I think we're safe because,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Okay, well, that's great. And we are actually just about out of time. So if you would like to take this opportunity to tell folks kind of as they're opening up their ballots when they see this program, what you'd like them to remember about you and why they should vote for you, this is your chance.
Okay. Well, I'm going to back up a half a step in my summary statement here and say that the last 8 to 12 years have been extremely hard on Lynnwood. And I think there's a combination of reasons for that. So I don't want to be overly simplistic. But it has been very hard. And my assessment of the situation, very candidly, is that our community psyche has been badly bruised. I truly believe that the fabric of community unity has suffered, in some cases, it's pretty much come unraveled. And without necessarily pointing fingers at any one person or any particular group of people for that, I think the bottom line is that Lynnwood is sort of at a crossroads. And I believe in my heart of hearts that the time has come where we don't continue with the same. We need a new perspective. I think we need a sort of a fresh start. That's being a little bit maybe simplistic again, but we cannot allow tomorrow to be an extension of the past, okay? And I firmly believe that within the governing structure, that the person, be it he or she or whoever it is, that is best capable of bringing us together and turning the ship around, if you will, or righting the ship, as the case may be, starts in the mayor's office. Because that's the highest elected official in our city. There's the highest degree of exposure. When they may not listen to any of the council members, they will listen to the mayor normally. So I do believe that it's time for a change. It's time for a fresh start. And I believe I'm that person. And I say that based on a combination of things, of motivation and skill, experience and whatever. So my hope would be that they would allow me the opportunity to serve as their mayor, and we'll try to set a new norm and have such things as sustainability, engagement, open and transparency, and whatever, because I think those are critical factors moving forward.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. I really appreciate it. And
You're
good luck.
welcome. Thank you.
Bye.